Another message going out concerning COVID. I know I'm seeming like a nosy busybody, but I'm only seeming like that because I care. I care about you people who are getting sick. Some of us are not having it real bad. Others are ending up in hospitals, and a lot of people are ending up dying. And now they've got cruise ships going. Giant petri dishes full of thousands of people going. You want to open your cruise ships? Well, here's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to make sure you have the COVID test that gives the quickest results. You cannot count on people who's coming on these cruises to go and quarantine 2 weeks before they go on the cruise. You can't count on that. People will lie. If somebody wants something bad enough or is spending enough money on it, they will lie. Okay? You're going to have to make sure that you have the quick test. And every passenger who gets on that ship is going to have to be tested. You're going to have people sitting on the decks and other places to be able to make sure that the people are keeping their masks on properly. Now, I have talked about how to keep a mask on properly. Here's the things you don't want to happen. You don't want people wearing a mask and the mask coming down like this. Because if it does, COVID's breathing out of the nose. Now, if you got a mask like this, it often does come off the nose. Suggestion. You take and you fold your mask like this, and you sew a piece of cloth down on here and make it curve up, and then sew it across. Double the cloth. That way, when they're wearing the mask like this, if it's up where it belongs, when they're talking, if it comes down, you notice my nose is staying protected. But if I move this piece of cloth, look at where my mask is, below my nose. But it don't matter, because that piece of cloth is staying up on my nose. And because of how it is shaped, it's staying tight here. I don't have to have that metal bar in there. Okay, there is a metal bar in here, but that don't matter, because I've got it staying up in there properly anyways. Okay? So you're going to have to make sure you have a mask either like this, or if you have a mask like this. Yes, I know it says Biden. If you don't like the Biden on it, I'll turn it the other way just for show. Okay? You got a mask like this. You're putting it on, and when you're talking, it goes below your nose. Why is that? You see how this hangs down here? Right here is my chin. That's my chin right there. What you need to do is this little piece here, position it right on the chin where it normally would pull down your mask. That way, when you open your mouth all the way, the chin will come out, not the nose. The chin will come out. The chin doesn't breathe. The chin doesn't infect you. So you don't have to worry about it. Or you do like I did with this mask, and you sew that extra piece of curved cloth onto it so it catches onto your nose. Okay? The other thing that they're going to have to do with these cruise ships is they're going to have to stop the dining in the dining room. They're going to have to start making it so that their guests have to eat in their room. That way, if somehow one of the guests end up with COVID, there's not a chance of them being in the dining room and infecting others. It does not matter how far apart you place those guests. If you are in an enclosed room with people with masks on and they're talking and they're laughing, they have to be at least 20 feet apart. Not 6 feet, 20 feet. Because you do not know when somebody is going to, achoo, 20 feet. There you go. You just infected 20 feet worth of people. You never know when somebody's going to, 20 feet. There you go. You just infected 20 feet worth of people. If you're not spacing out your diners properly, 20 feet apart, and you're not in a room that has great ventilation, they're going to spread it if they've got it. Plain and simple, they will spread it. And even with the quick test before the people get on the cruise, there is no guarantee that this guest that comes on didn't just get exposed to COVID. Meaning there will be not enough of the virus in their system for it to show on the test. But if you went back and tested them 3 days later, it would then show that the person had COVID. So either you're going to have to stop doing the cruises, or you're going to have to start making sure you take better measures. The quick test. Making sure every person that comes onto that ship definitely tests negative. Okay? My suggestion is 3 days after, everybody stays in their cabin for 3 days. 3 days after you do the first quick test, you do the second quick test. Okay? That will make sure, even if you wait 4 days, that will make sure every one of those passengers and your crew does not have COVID. Dining in the room, not in the dining center. I know it's fun to look around and see who's all there and if there's any celebs and la-di-da-di-da-di-da-di-da. First of all, I personally think, you're going on a cruise during a pandemic. How ridiculous are you? You're not going to die if you don't go on the cruise. But if you get on the cruise with the wrong person, there's a high possibility you will die because you got COVID. Think. But if you absolutely have to go on that cruise ship needs to do better. They need to make sure that the cruise staff have masks that will stay on their nose. And proper masks. They are going to have to make sure they are testing every one of the staff, including the captain and everybody else, regularly. Regularly. They are going to have to get the quick test and test every passenger before they get on the ship. And then have those passengers go to their cabin, and they've got to stay in their cabin for the first 4 days. And while they are in their cabin, 4 days later, retest the guests to make sure that they didn't have somebody who was freshly exposed to COVID, went on their cruise. There wasn't enough of the virus in their system, so it couldn't test positive. But after they got on the ship, after a couple of days, the virus built up in their system, and now they're passing it on to everybody else. Okay? As I said, the dining room, that is the one most important thing. The dining room. Do not have dining in the dining room. Don't do it. Just don't do it. Because sneezing and coughing and talking loud and laughing spreads the spray and the virus farther than 6 feet. And if you do not have the room with good ventilation, then that's hanging in the air. And it does not matter if you got people 6 feet apart or not. You're spreading the virus. If anything, if you have a few special guests that you want to give them the dining out type of a experience, then fine. Put them on the deck. Spread them out 20 feet on the deck and let them go ahead and have a small, intimate dinner there. But make it so that they have to have a reservation for that. The guests with the reservation can have that. They've got to make the reservation in advance. Okay? That's number one. And for every day, if you're out on a week, trip, you can have each night have a different group of people who have signed the reservation for what night they want to eat on the deck. And probably get a good sum of your passengers to be able to eat out on that deck. So it's going to take a little more work that you got to set up the table. Put the captain up on his area out on the deck out up on the top there. Have him have his own little table up there that he can sit down and have his dinner with his family and be able to look at everybody else on the lower decks. Okay? Because there's like, 3 tiers, 4 tiers on decks? Imagine how many people you can put on those decks. Okay? Make sure every passenger is following the rule of keeping that mask on at all times when they are not in their cabin. You don't let them do one of these numbers. Wearing my mask, I'm on the deck. I want to talk to somebody, so I'm going to do this. No! No, no! You keep it up. Keep it up where it belongs. Keep that where it belongs. Then you can be out on the deck talking to whoever you want. So your sound is muffled a little bit. It's just muffled a little bit. People are going to have to learn how to listen better. Other than that, it doesn't hurt to keep that mask on. Do not take any passenger who refuses to wear their mask properly or claims a medical reason for not being able to wear a mask. That's bullcrap. And let me tell you something, parents. Places like China and other places can teach their 2-year-old child to put that mask on and keep it on. You sure in the hells can do the same thing. Your kids understand way more than you think they do. Make your mask a fashion statement. You can have a mask for every occasion. Walking out on the deck, just having a good old time. Put something funny on it. Have one that has a funny saying or something that makes a conversation that you can laugh about. Okay? Going shopping somewhere, have another one that does a little bit more fancier, but, has something fun on it. Going out for dinner, put glitter on it. Make it match your dress. Make it match whatever it is you want it to match. Put sequins on it. Put decorations of any kind on it. Make your mask your makeup. Okay? It's no different than you women going out there and putting makeup on. Instead, your mask is your makeup when you go out. I've seen some awfully cool freaking masks. And I'll tell you what, it just shines them women's eyes. And the men's. You see that mask, and then all you can see is the beauty of that mask, and then you see that person's eyes, and those eyes are just as beautiful. I mean, most people don't notice the eyes anymore when they're talking to people. They notice the mouth. Well, you put the mask on, and you notice the eyes. There are some awfully beautiful eyes out there. There are people out there that I've heard say they don't think they're all that pretty, and they are pretty. But once they put that mask on, the eyes are 10 times more beautiful than how much pretty their face is. There's so much more expressionness. There's so much more expression to them. So choose your mask like you choose your dress. Choose your mask like you choose your jogging outfits. Use it as a fashion statement to show who you are. But choose your mask wisely. Do not, under any circumstances, wear those bandana masks. You know why they are not very good? First of all, because they're not made of proper cloth. They're made of a lot thinner cloth. Secondly, they allow for air to escape from, like, around the neck. Especially if it's only one of those bandana things that come down like this. The air's escaping around the neck. So it's not doing any good. You're not doing anybody any favor. So don't wear them. Wear the actual mask. And as I showed you, make sure that the chin piece is up where the chin pulls. So that if it does come off somewhere, it comes off your chin, not your nose. Or sew that extra piece of cloth on, so if the mask does slip down, the cloth hangs on to your nose. When you sew that cloth on the way I did, right here, when that mask falls down, this cloth here catches on the nose like this, so that it doesn't come off the nose. And when I want to put this mask on, I can fold this cloth just like that. Put it on properly, and then while I'm talking, no matter what I'm doing, it stays there normally. And with this cloth tucked in right here where I tucked it, if it's tucked right, it keeps the steam from going up on your glasses. If you don't tuck it right, it won't. And then when you're talking, your mask comes down, this piece of cloth here stays up on your nose. And you don't have to worry about it. It just folds that cloth out. You see how that folded out for me? I went like that. So when you put your mask on, if you want to put it on properly, it's on properly. If you're not talking very much, then it'll stay on properly. But if you get to talking and it starts to do that, you see? That piece of cloth stays right there, and you don't have to worry about who you're exposing or if you're being exposed to COVID, because you're not. And as you can see, the mask is still fitting on tightly. That's why it sucks in when I suck in. That's how you can tell your mask is fitting on properly, is if when you look at the mask and you go, if it breathes in like that, that's a proper fitting mask. That means one that's letting very little to no air escape out, and that you are getting your air in. See? That's what you want from a mask. You want a mask that when it's on your face, if you suck in deep, you feel that mask come up against you. That means there's a tight fit around the cheeks here, there's a tight fit along the chin, and there's a tight fit along the nose. That you're not allowing air to get out. So let's try to do better. Let's stop thinking we're going to die if we can't go to a bar or to a restaurant. Let's start thinking about we may die if we do go to a bar or a restaurant, or we may end up being responsible to killing somebody else. The same thing with whether or not you're going to go on a cruise. If you have not got a cruise already scheduled on your schedule, which, I mean, most people don't. Since COVID hit, most people don't have cruise lines on schedule. But they're scheduling it since COVID hit. Ridiculous. They're scheduling to go on a petri dish since COVID hit. Ridiculous. If you're going to go on a cruise, don't eat in the restaurant on the cruise. Eat in your cabin. If you're going to go on a cruise, make sure you have a well-fitting mask. If you're going to go on a cruise, make sure that cruise is doing speedy COVID testing before any passenger gets on that cruise. Because if they're not doing that, if all they're doing is taking a temperature, which is going to tell you nothing other than whether some guests are suffering from COVID and actually having symptoms that cause a fever. Some people never get a fever with COVID. Some people never have a headache. Some people are never dizzy. Some people have absolutely no symptom whatsoever. And the only way you are going to ever tell they have COVID is if you test them. But that same person that you can't tell has COVID is passing it on to everybody else. So you need to be smarter about what you're doing. And you need to remember, the 6 feet is just a starting line suggestion. That does not cover for people who are loud laughers. That does not count for anybody in the room who may sneeze. Achoo! That does not count for anybody in the crowd who may cough. Because they don't think somebody with a cough or a sneeze or allergies or whatever else not are going to go out and eat. They think that they're going to get these people who are going to sit down and talk normally and do their normal thing and no loud talking and never going to be an argument of any kind. And, the works. So yeah, let's set them 6 feet apart in the dining room. It's not going to work. It's not gonna work. Not in any world, not in any time, not in any way with a pandemic. Because people are unpredictable. It would work if we were all robots. We all talk the same way at all times. We never sneeze. We never cough. We never laugh out loud. That is the only way that scenario will work. All right? Use your head. You may be one person who goes to a restaurant and talks like this at all times. You may be a person that goes to a restaurant and makes sure that you're not a sneezer or cougher. But can you guarantee that for everybody that is in that restaurant? You may be the type of person that when you walk in the restaurant, you have your mask on. And if you go to the bathroom, you have your mask on and you're walking past all these people within Lord knows how close. You don't know. You do not know who's coughed in that area, who sneezed in that area. You do not know. And that virus lingers in the air for a while. If I cough right now, got up, walked away, and say 5 seconds later, you came and sat down right where I'm at, you just sat in my COVID germs and you got it. That's the way it works. Think. You people talk about how easy it is to catch a cold or a flu. COVID's not much different. If somebody's sitting smoking a cigarette in a room, okay, I blow that smoke out. How far is that smoke going to go before it totally dissipates out? It's the same thing happening when somebody's sitting and talking. Instead of seeing smoke, if you were to go on a microscopic level, you would see the COVID. You would see the microscopic spray of the COVID go out just the same way smoke does. No difference. The only difference is one you can see and smell, the other you can't. So if I'm sitting here and you're sitting 20 feet away over there and I light my cigarette and you can smell my cigarette over there, then that means that's how far my spray can go if I'm sitting and constantly talking. That's how far it can go. Just because you can't smell the COVID don't mean it's not there. It is. So think. And stop needing to go to these places that people don't have to wear masks at. Because if you're going to these places, then guess what? You're exposing yourself to the potential of getting COVID. And you're exposing yourself to the potential of dying. So let's start using our brain. Let's put two and two together. And think of COVID as somebody smoking a cigarette. If you don't want to be around a smoker, you most definitely don't want to be around COVID. Think.